We're doing the scoring for the 2012 Released Free Response question number 6. So now we're going to score our work. Hopefully if you had a chance to go through and make sure you got some answers so we can see what we got right or wrong. So I'm looking at part A. And part A was a two-part question. And remember in part A, we were supposed to just ask, all we're supposed to answer is when is the particle moving to the left? That was worth 2 points. Our 2 points came from considers v of t equals 0 and the interval with which is the answer. Now I find this statement considers v of t equals 0 to be a little bit mysterious because of course what we really want is v of t is less than 0. They seem to mean by that we are considering the two intercepts of the function where it changes direction, and but we've really taken a different approach where we said we need to know where v of t is less than 0. Let's just solve v of t less than 0. So these are the 2 points where t equals 0. So sure, we've considered them. I think more to the point, we considered where v of t is less than 0, which is really what the question is about. So I think we're going to get this point, and the interval is right here, 3 to 9. So the interval is 3 to 9. I wrote it as an inequality and as an interval. Either way, you're going to get the point. So we got 2 points on that one. Now let's go to part B. Now on part B, I did a good deal of work finding the total distance, saying that it was this integral, and I said that was this integral. And then I split it up, and then I have two integrals that can be evaluated. What they've done is they've just said it's the integral from 0 to 6 of the absolute value of velocity. They didn't even put the velocity function in there, and they consider that to be worth 1 point. So I've done quite a bit more work than they did because they really just wanted this, which I think is sort of really lacks any reference to the problem, which surprises me. But okay, I did more work than they did. I like my answer better. But they're accepting this. There was very, very little really to do there. That all we had to do is say it's the integral from 0 to 6 of the absolute value of velocity. I didn't have to even plug in the velocity function, and we got that point. Well, that's very nice for us. They made that easy for us. Now, part C is where all the points are. We're not surprised by that because it was the longest and had the most difficulty. So what we get is 1 point for finding acceleration. Remember, there were two parts to this question. They were find the acceleration and is the speed increasing or decreasing, and explain. So find the acceleration, that was just 1 point, which makes sense because all we had to do is do a derivative. So their answer for a of t is it's negative pi over 6 sine pi over 6t. So that's what we have, negative pi over 6 sine pi over 6t. So we get that point for having the acceleration. And now conclusion with reason. This says the speed is increasing because velocity and acceleration have the same sign. And that is exactly what we wrote here. Since velocity and acceleration have the same sign, the speed is increasing. Notice how the key words here, the key words are velocity and acceleration have the same sign. It doesn't even say, we don't even have to say whether the velocity and acceleration were positive or negative. We had to say that they had the same sign. But in order to get this conclusion, we had to have this. We had to say that the acceleration was less than 0, the velocity at 4 is less than 0. Remember I said that you don't have to actually calculate what that number is. You just have to say that this number is less than 0. They've actually gone and done the number, which is fine. But we'll get the point just by saying a of 4 is less than 0, v of 4 is less than 0, so the speed is increasing. Notice it's 2 points for conclusion with reason. So I have to get them both. If I have the right conclusion but the wrong reason, 0. If I have the right reason but the wrong conclusion, 0. But if I have the right conclusion and the right reason, 2. That's how it goes. That one's a 0 or 2. And we have a lot of points on part D as well. On part D, we have 3 points. And our points are for the antiderivative. If we look at our part D, we have an antiderivative. If I can find the, yeah, this is part D, right? Yes. Our antiderivative, though, doesn't come until this page. So we did our antiderivative here, where we ended up with sine pi over 6t. That antiderivative having sine pi over 6t, it's a good thing I caught that mistake, because that antiderivative by itself was a point. So I could have everything else wrong, but as long as I have sine pi over 6t as my antiderivative of cosine pi over 6t, then I get that point for the antiderivative. Uses initial condition. So remember I said you could do this integral as an indefinite integral. They did it the same way I did. They did a definite integral. So the uses the initial condition means we have that minus 2 right there. And we have our minus 2. I kept a s of 0 right up to the end, and then I made it minus 2. That minus 2, I could have everything else wrong here. This is going to be all wrong over here. And I have minus 2 right there. I got a point. So that was actually an easy point to get. And our final point is the answer. Our answer is this. Now, is my answer the same as their answer? They said it's negative 2 plus 6 over pi times square root 3 over 2. So my answer, if it turns out to be the same as this answer, then I'm going to get that answer point. And if not, then I'm not. So what I want to emphasize is that in order to check this answer, we need to work this out. But to get the point, we don't need to work it out. So when you're doing your test, you're not going to work this out. But we need to score it. We can't score it without working it out. So let's see if I really got it right. So we have negative 2 plus 6 over pi. Let's see, sine of pi over 6 times 4. That's sine of 2 pi over 3. 2 pi over 3. And then sine of 0 is just 0. So we're going to lose this term over here. So it's only a question of, what does this turn out to be? Sine of 2 pi over 3 is square root 3 over 2. So this is 6 pi times square root 3 over 2. I can reduce the 6 and the 2. So this is equal to negative 2 plus 3 square root 3 over pi. And that is, in fact, what they have here. Negative 2 plus 3 square root 3 over pi. So I got the answer, and that's your final point. So that's how the points are distributed. And the harder questions have the more points. We're not surprised by that. So I hope you got 9 points on this.